Welcome to another Wichita Toy Train Club Lionel product review. I'm Zachariah, and behind the camera we have Chris, and let's get started. Today we are going to review the Lionel American Flyer Kansas City Southern SD70ACe number 4054. So some of the features on this locomotive is going to include Lionel's Legacy Control System, so it can be ran with Lionel's Legacy Control System or with Lionel's TMCC Control System, or if you prefer, you can run it conventionally with just transformer and some track. It's also got DCC enabled, to where if you run all your S-scale items with DCC, all you have to do is set this engine on the track and it will pick up the DCC signal. It's got American Flyer speed control, Legacy rail sounds with all the standard Legacy rail sounds features, front and rear electrocouplers, mounting holes for scale couplers. It's got a pivoting pilot, and we'll go into that a little bit later. You can get scale wheels for this locomotive if you so choose through Lionel's customer service. All LED lights, headlights, number boards, and operating ditch lights. Alright, so now looking up here on the pilot of this locomotive, right here up front we have our big S-scale electrocoupler. We got a snowplow, a couple MU hoses, and a coupler cut bar up here. Also with this pilot, as I said, it is pivoting, which means the pilot and the coupler are not connected to the truck like standard S and O scale diesels. This pilot has a little bit of independent give to it, to where it can move however it wants, to where if you run more scaled curves, that pilot's going to sit relatively still and not move at all. But if you run a little bit tighter curves, you can still enjoy this engine and run it on those curves. That pilot's just going to turn to allow that coupler to keep from binding up. Now, we're down here we have our ditch lights. Those are operating LEDs, a little metal chain along with metal handrails. We have safety tread here on the walkway. Nice crisp KCS paint, along with some grab irons and a couple of other grab iron up here. Up top we have a couple sand caps, our headlight, and lighted number boards. Along up here we have our windshield and separately applied windshield wipers. Alright, now looking over here on the side of the locomotive, as we can see we have our nice steps coming up our pilot that we couldn't see earlier. We have a legible danger sign up here. These steps are perforated with holes, have these nice yellow stripes that going all the way up it. Over here we have our standard die-cast metal truck with all of our standard molded in details on that side frame. Moving up we have some engine compartment, our KCS logo, our road number 4054, and up here we have our cab windows with some nice silver trim around it, and as you can see we have our conductor figure in there and this nice sun visor up top. Alright, now moving back, up here we have our our standard look for the SD70, our metal handrail that goes all the way down the side of the engine. Up top here we don't have any safety tread, this is just flat, but down here we do have our safety tread. Over here we have some vents and again some nice crisp paint over here, along with some more very small warning labels. Down here we have our fuel tank. This looks really nice. It's a die-cast metal fuel tank. We have our little sight glass here and a couple other hand-painted details on that. Alright, now moving back to the back of the locomotive. Up here again we have a whole bunch of warning labels. They're all over this engine. Down here we have a different label. Can't quite read it, but I bet you if you got a magnifying glass you probably could. Again, there's our handrail coming all the way back. Another one of our die-cast metal trucks, nice looking side frames. And back here we have our rear pilot, again with same thing, we have our drainage holes and our nice yellow warning stripes, and again more warning labels, along with a nice vent housing up top here. So now looking at the very rear of the locomotive, again you can kind of see the same thing we had up front. We have our big electrocoupler, coupler cut bar, some MU hoses, and as you can see it also has that pivoting pilot. Up top we have our metal chain, our safety tread up here again, our backup light, and a couple other separately applied details along the back, and our road number. Alright, now looking up top of the locomotive, as you can see the whole top's got a nice silver finish to it, looks really nice. Up top, the front and top of the cab, we have some communication stuff up here, you can see it's really hard to see since it's white on silver, but it's still there and looks really nice. Not a whole lot going on back here. We have some molded in panels and stuff. Right here we have a lift ring and another little lift ring here. Those do come out really easy, but you can get them fairly cheap from Lionel's customer service if they ever pop out. Alright, now moving back, up here we have our diesel exhaust vent, and underneath this right here we have a fan-driven smoke unit. So to load smoke fluid, you just pour smoke fluid directly down the stack here. Now, that is kind of tricky sometimes being diesel. A lot of times it's easier to use one of those needle point dispensers, and you can get down right here in the middle where that funnel leads to. Moving back, we have our nice silver horn back here. Looks wonderful. Moving to the rear of the locomotive, up top you can see here we have our 3 fans. These 2 up front are very free spinning. This one seems to be free spinning, but not quite as easily. And by that I'm meaning if you blow on these fans here, they've been put in there separately to where if you blow on them, they'll spin. They're not motorized or anything, but it's just kind of neat. Not a whole lot going up here besides the fans, but there are some neat molded in details, a couple grab irons. And underneath this we have our master controls for the locomotive. So now I've took that hood vent off, and that just comes off really easy. It's got magnets on the inside. And as you can see, we have a screw here and a screw here, and those allow the magnets to stick to them so it doesn't come off unless you want it to. Back here, as you can see, we have our rear motor for the locomotive, and we have our flywheel on top of it. Over here we have our smoke on-off switch and our run program on-off switch, along for our master volume pod for the locomotive. So now we have the locomotive flipped over in an engine cradle, and as you can see there's not a whole lot going on down here, but over here all 3 axles are flanged over here. Here's our drivetrain, and this rear axle does have traction tires on it. Moving back on our fuel tank here, you can see we have our very small speaker, and along with a IR sensor. So I guess Lionel is bringing the Lionel LCS Center Track to American Flyer, but who knows when. And back here's kind of the same story. We have our drivetrain along with all 3 axles flanged, and this one here is the one with the traction tires on it. So 4 traction tires total. Alright, now that we've gone through the review, we got a train behind it. Let's go ahead and start the engine up, except I don't have track power. Alright, there we go. Now I got track power, and now you can see our number boards are on, so now we can go ahead and start her up.
This is the dispatcher. Do you copy? Yes, sir. Loud and clear. Over. Very good. Start up and hold. Roger that. Holding for your signal. Out.
Alright, now that we got the engine started up, let's go through some of the sounds. As you can tell from the extended startup, this does have Lionel's generic rail sounds in it, but nonetheless, let's give it a listen.
Dispatcher, trains buckle together. Can I get a go? Over. Negative. Hold your position. Over. Okay, understood. Out. This is the dispatcher. Take the green. Over. Very good. I got the green. Out.
And here's the horn. And that was with Lionel's 3 quillings on the Legacy remote. It's kind of weird having that quilling on a diesel, but it's there nonetheless. And here's the bell. And now we're going to go through the 8 RPM levels. So we're sitting here at idle, and we'll start revving her up till we're screaming. Alright, now we're on the roof and we're going to bring her back down. Alright, now we're back down here at idle. Alright, now we've gone through everything, we're going to take her for a spin around the layout. Before we do that, let's top her off with fuel.
Fill her up! My fuel's full. Over. Copy that. Out.
Alright, now we got the diesel topped off. I'm going to put it in sequence control, which is done by holding and pressing the aux1 key until you hear a ding ding toot. There it is. And that's going to automate some of the sounds for the locomotive. And we're going to go ahead and bring her on out.
Dispatcher, I see that. Over. See you later, dispatcher. We are rolling. Over. Copy that. Keep rolling. Out. Dispatcher, are we clear for the next one? Over. Dispatcher here. Switch your line. You're clear inbound. Over. Copy that, dispatcher. Clear into the yard. Out. Dispatcher, my fuel's full. I'm at restricted speed. Out. Dispatcher, are we clear to the next milepost? Over. Copy that. You have a clear track. Over. Very good. On schedule. Out. Dispatcher, my fuel's full. I'm at restricted speed. Out. We're going to be, dispatcher. See you tomorrow. Out.
This concludes our review of the American Flyer Lionel Kansas City Southern SD70ACe number 4054. Thanks for watching. Remember to like us on Facebook and subscribe to us on YouTube. Thanks for watching.